Hi folks, this is Nat, and this is going to be a video lesson on multiplying and dividing with mixed numbers. When you're multiplying and dividing with mixed numbers, there's a couple things to remember. A lot of them you have heard before because they're the same as they were when we were talking about multiplying and dividing fractions. The first thing to remember is that we don't need a common denominator. While we certainly can make a common denominator and it won't give us the wrong answer, it's extra work that is just going to potentially introduce mistakes that you don't need to be doing. So remember, unlike addition and subtraction, where you have to have a common denominator, when we're multiplying and dividing, we don't have to worry about that at all. So in a lot of respects, multiplying and dividing is easier than adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Secondly, we need to remember that when we're multiplying and dividing, unlike addition and subtraction, they're again very different. We can't really deal with mixed numbers, at least it's not worth it. It becomes much more complicated. So what we really want to do is convert our mixed numbers into improper fractions before we begin either our multiplication or our division. And other than that, it's going to be basically the same as multiplying and dividing fractions. Let's take a look at a problem. Here I have 2 3/4 times 4 1/2. And just like we said a second ago, I don't need to worry about a common denominator. I don't need to change that, but I do want to convert each of these to its improper fraction. So if I look at 2 3/4, this is 2 sets of 4 quarters. That's 8 quarters, plus the 3 quarters I already had. That's going to be 11 quarters. And for my 4 1/2, that's going to be 4 sets of 2 halves. That's 8 halves, and 1 extra half, which is 9 halves. And from there, I'm great. I can just multiply. If you remember your fraction multiplication, we're just going to multiply directly across, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. And that's going to end up being 99/8. From here, I definitely want to put my answer in simplest form at the very least. And in this situation, I actually can't simplify it. It's already in simplest form. But I might also want to convert it back to a mixed number. So I might ask myself, how many times does 8 go into 99? And the answer is going to be 12. So there's 12 holes in there. And 12/8 is 96. Meaning there's 3/8 remaining. So this is going to be 12 3/8. And that's pretty much it. With the multiplication, we just have to convert it to an improper fraction, kind of like we did right here. We multiply straight across. Whenever we have an answer, we're going to simplify it and then potentially convert it back to a mixed number. If you do that, you're done. Here we have a similar problem, a mixed number division problem this time. Got to make sure we pay attention to the sign. And I'm going to follow the exact same steps. I don't need a common denominator, but I do need to turn these into improper fractions. That's my first job. So 3 sets of 3 is 9, plus my 1 is 10 thirds. And I'm going to be dividing that by 1 set of 8, 8/8, plus 3 is 11/8. From here, I just have to remember my normal fraction division stuff, my fraction division skills. And the big thing is that I need to remember that converting doesn't do anything. I now need to do my actual division, which involves skipping the first number and flipping the second. So I'm going to rewrite this as 10 thirds, skipping the first and multiplying it by the flipped version, or the reciprocal, of 11/8, which is 8/11. From there, I'm basically back to multiplication. I'm going to multiply straight across. I'll get 80 30/3. Same deal as before. I'm going to simplify that if I can. In this case, I can't. And then I might convert it back into a mixed number. And 33 goes into 80 twice. That's 66. And 66 to 80, there's 14 left over. So 14 33rds remaining. And I'm done. So what I would really just stress here is that mixed number multiplication and division is not really that hard. The big thing that we want to remember are the things we pointed out at the beginning. We get to skip the common denominator. We're not going to spend any time trying to get that denominator to be the same because we don't need to. And we are going to convert all mixed numbers to improper fractions. That's the big thing. So after we convert them to an improper fraction, we can either multiply straight across if it's a multiplication problem, or we can do our skip flip and then multiply if it's division. So hopefully that feels pretty manageable. Here are 2 practice problems that you can try this out on your own with. Good luck.